Hey guys, welcome back to Attack on Iron World. This is probably going to be a long one. A brand new item, the Ouroboros ring. It was the most expensive item I had. It was worth like 200 million, and it looked pretty good. It was the highest starting levels as well for these opening ones. Also, just in case you're wondering, this young lady got the Exodus. Because we didn't actually, not really given Misty anything, so we gave Misty the Exodus. So she got buffed up quite a bit. But anyway, we're here to talk about the year. That's right, hopefully this is airing on Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas. So hello, welcome. How was your Christmas? Did you enjoy it? Did you have a good Christmas? What did Santa Claus bring you? You know, let me know in the comments below, by all means. But we're going to talk about the video games this year, and we're going to see just how far we can get. We may jump out halfway through a set of floors, because we're probably going to clear like 20 of them, I should suspect. And if I continue to stall like this, maybe we'll even clear about 20 of them. Anyway, so I've got a whole list of stuff, right? I looked through a list of things that I played this year. I keep a list on my PC every year of the games that I played. So I make sure that I write down every single game that I play. And I do this for a reasoning of this exact video, so I can know what I've kept a hold of. And plus I just think it's good to, in general, keep a mind of what you're playing, you know, what you've played of them, what you've thought of them, and stuff like that, especially if you want to be doing what I want to be doing. So that's the reason why I do that, and hopefully you guys should do it too. It's pretty fun as well to look back on the year and see what you thought of certain games, stuff like that, and see how your opinions may have shifted over that year as well. And it's a nice thing to do, I think, anyway. But so yes, we'll be talking about the top 5 and worst 4. That's right, I could only come up with 4, which might be a good sign. Keep in mind, I've not played all the games this year. Obviously, I've not played every single game that come out this year. In fact, looking back on it, I played fairly little. I didn't really play as much as I thought I did, especially compared to previous years where I could easily fit like a top 20 list, you know what I mean? Where it's been a weird year for gaming in general. 2017 was definitely an odd one. I don't know, it just didn't feel right in a weird way. And I don't know, I mean, hopefully next year we'll be able to play a lot more games. This year I didn't play as many like indie titles as I usually would. I didn't play as many just in general games. I skipped a lot of big AAA games because I knew that they were going to be trash. I skipped Battlefront, the second Battlefront. I skipped the Need for Speed. Those are both games I wanted to pick up. I kind of just skipped them because I kind of expected them to like shit the bed, and they did, like big time. So I think I saved myself a lot of money, and also there's a lot of games that re-released this year, which some of which are on one of these free lists, and some are not. For example, Stardew Valley is not on this list. Reasoning behind Stardew Valley not being on the list, because Stardew Valley would of course be in the top 5 of all time, because I fucking adore Stardew Valley. But it already released twice, and just because it released on the Switch this year, I don't think that necessarily deserves it another spot on the top games of the year. I think it made it into the top games of last year's list. That's for damn sure. But anyways, let's talk about some of the games that are not on this list. Okay, not on this list they all meant something to me. You know what I mean? So like I was mentioning beforehand, like games this year, there was a lot of like remakes, a lot of rehashes, a lot of that sort of stuff. And I've got fucking hair in my face because I need to cut my hair because I'm a crazy man. I'm a crazy man with long hair that's in my face. It's unacceptable. A lot of games re-released. Hack Sign, of all games, came back from the grave, just kind of came out of nowhere and re-released all of its 1, 2, and 3 of its RPG games, which kind of like continue on, make a weird continuance through the world. Like you finish a game, the first game at level 50, and you start the next game at level 50. Like, you can carry over your save data and everything. It was a massive surprise for me. Now, that's not on either of the best or the worst lists, because I've not played all 3 of them, all 4 of them even. They added a one. I played the first game, and that's all I've played so far. But the fact that you can send over data and stuff like that is crazy to me. To play more of that in the next year. But of course, I just didn't have time to play through, because it was pretty long. It was a good 25 to 30 hours, which is hard to do when I'm trying to do as much as I am doing at the moment. So yes, there was Hacksaw, there was Crash Bandicoot, a reboot of Crash Bandicoot. All 3 of the PlayStation 1 games fully remastered in their true HD glory, and it was beautiful. Crash is back. Crash Bandicoot is as good as it was back then, and it's also as bad as it was back then. And I know that's blasphemous to some people. I think the first Crash Bandicoot game is garbage. I hate the first Crash Bandicoot game. I think it's too hard. I don't think the platforming is right. He feels too heavy in that game for me, and it makes the platforming really, really difficult for me. Where in number 2, I feel like they really fucking nailed Crash's movement. In Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3, they nailed Crash perfectly. And those games are so, so good. It's just a shame that they don't all control like 3. I know that they tried to make it as correct to what the game was at the time, and I can respect that. But at the same time, and even games like Crash Bandicoot, dare I say it, even games like some of the old Zeldas have their issues. We all love them, but they have their problems. We can all admit that. And a lot of these games are definitely going to have that. Dragon Quest re-released. Dragon Quest 9 re-released on the 3DS, and that was crazy. I think it kind of happened like shortly after I said that I would totally buy that if it was re-released. And it was re-released onto the 3DS, and I got it and I played it, and it was just as good as it was on the PlayStation. It holds up. It definitely holds up. I kind of wish it was more on the Switch or something, but I think because I just don't want to be playing my 3DS anymore. No offense to my 3DS, God forbid, I love my 3DS, but I've had it since the 3DS was released. I've got the original one, the original square blocky one that I've had all this time, and it starts to chug. Dragon Quest chugged, Pokemon Sun and Moon, which is another one on this list, definitely chugged. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon also graced us with their presence this year, and I like that they exist. I like those games. They're fun. All Pokemon games are always fun. However, this time it is unfortunately stained with a tiny bit of greed, as they created an enhanced edition of Pokemon. Like Pokemon Sun and Moon was great, and I was expecting them to do an enhanced version and call it like Dawn. Pokemon Dawn, and I think that was originally the idea, since there is another Lycanroc. So Rockruff can evolve into a third form, and that third form is a Dawn form. So I do believe that originally their idea was to make Pokemon Dawn, which was like a mix of the two, very much the Crystal to Gold and Silver, and Emerald to Ruby and Sapphire. Now, I think somewhere along the lines, along the corporate lines, it got caught up and was chopped into two, into Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, meaning that they were double dipping yet again, and that's kind of annoying. For me, personally, it doesn't really affect me, because I don't buy both games. I never have. I've always brought just the one, and kind of settled with it. And to have them do double dip, and to see them double dip, it's just kind of a frustration. It's just a frustration to see. Like I said, it didn't really have an effect on me, but it was still annoying to see. It was unfortunate. So Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are on neither of these lists, which is a shame, because I love Pokemon Ultra Sun. Play it a lot. It's great. I'm still not finished it. I'm moving along very, very slowly. I'm investigating a whole lot of grass fields, catching a whole lot of Pokemon. I'm advancing pretty slowly, but I love it. It's great. And Pokemon Silver also re-released this year. You can go ahead and buy Pokemon Silver, and Pokemon Crystal is coming up very, very soon. That's great. I love that. I would buy Pokemon Crystal in a heartbeat if it was on the Switch. Why are they not on the Switch? I don't know. Probably because they want the first Pokemon Switch game to be their new thing, you know, their new one that they're gonna do. It's probably gonna be a new generation or something like that. I think it's gonna be a new generation anyway. Although some people think it would be Pokemon Red and Blue remakes, which I don't mind. I don't really care what they turn up with. If I'm honest, I just want Pokemon on my Switch. I want Pokemon in all forms on my Switch, because I love my Switch. I love playing on my Switch. In fact, a whole bunch of the games that released on the Switch were awesome this year. They were fantastic. And since we're talking about the Switch, let's talk about one of those games that is not on this list, because I decided to cut it down to the top 5 games rather than top thing. But it would just drop short of the list. It would definitely have been in the top 10, which was Mario Odyssey. I played Mario Odyssey a lot. I played it a lot this year. I loved it. It was a scare because I wasn't expecting it to be any good. I saw it at E3 and I was like, this looks shit. I'm gonna be honest, I was like, this looks like a piece of shit, Nintendo, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And then the more I saw it, the more I hated it. I was like, this just looks dumb. I don't want this, Nintendo. You're dumb for making this. I was like, this looks silly. I was like, this is not something I'm gonna buy on the Switch. And then I kind of caved, because everyone was saying it was amazing, so I kind of caved and I brought it. And I was 100% wrong. 100% wrong. It's beautiful, it's fun, it's surprisingly innovative while still remaining Mario. It's great. It's super good, and it's definitely worth your time. If you have a Switch and you don't have Mario Odyssey, and you like Mario in general, I don't know what you're doing. You should buy it instantly. It's great. So other games that wasn't necessarily re-released, but something that you may have forgotten about, which came out a long time ago, it's early in this year, Tales of Berseria. That was a good game. It was a good game, but it wasn't the best Tales game. It's sad to see. But that were released this year, that was pretty good. I'm gonna try and skim over a couple of these because ones like that, because I don't really have much to say on the matter other than I like them, but not that much. So, and that's not very interesting to listen to, I don't think. But let's move on to some of these other games I've got on this like honorable mentions list. Horizon Zero Dawn released this year, and I will admit, I'm fucking salty. I am salty. I want another Killzone game. I want a Killzone game so bad. I love Killzone. Killzone is like my shooter. You know how people have Call of Duty and people have Battlefield. I have Killzone. That's my shooter of choice. I don't necessarily play online, although the online's phenomenal. I love this. I love what's it called? Skirmish, where it like halfway through a game it would be like protect high value target, and it's like oh shit, I'm the high value target. So then you've got to go and like everyone's got to try and defend you real quickly, and you might be like right in the front lines, whatever. And then also after you've done that mode, it's capture the target, it's capture the flag, and then you got to go capture the flag, and then out of nowhere, then you're playing team deathmatch, then you're playing secure. It's fucking great. I love Killzone. So I was a bit salty when Guerrilla came out and was like, we're making Horizon Zero Dawn. I was like, that's funny, Guerrilla, because that didn't sound like Killzone. And it definitely wasn't. It wasn't Killzone at all. It was its own crazy thing, which turned out to be pretty damn good. It wasn't the best game, in my opinion. It wasn't the best game this year. It was damn good and definitely deserving of people's admiration. And if people are into that whole like massive open world, like Far Cry sort of collect things, this is definitely a game for you. It's so good. But it's that sort of like, that level of open worldness has kind of fallen on deaf ears with me recently. I've kind of gotten bored of it. I've gotten bored of the look at this massive open world with things in it, you know what I mean? I've not played Assassin's Creed this year yet, so I don't really have anything to say on that topic just yet, and I also, something that I did want to pick up, well, something that I did pick up, and which is on one of these lists, is Shadow of War, but we'll get to Shadow of War in a minute, but just using it as an example, Horizon Zero Dawn is definitely an honorable mention. Really well done, I think. Really well done at creative, because Guerrilla can't seem to do anything wrong. Guerrilla, I know they're not listening to this, but I love them. They're a fantastic development team, and they seem to really nail it. Anyway, moving on. Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda come out this year to kind of a crappy expectation. People were not impressed with it at all. Me included. I stopped playing it. I stopped playing it around the second planet. I was like, fuck this. This is garbage. And recently I went back to Mass Effect. And I enjoyed it. I don't know if they like fixed it. I don't know if they added more to it. I don't know what happened. But I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed playing through Mass Effect. And it's just such a shame how horribly average that it is. Because I would love to play a really good version of it. And I think as far as it goes as setting up, another Andromeda would be awesome. I feel like the second Mass Effect Andromeda would be massive. It's just a shame that I don't know if we're even going to get it now. Especially with BioWare working on fucking whatever they're working on. That weird game that looks rubbish. I don't know. I don't like the looks of that new game that they're working on. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head. But we will talk about that on New Year's Eve, I think. New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, where I'll be talking about the top 5 most excited for, most top 5 least excited for games of 2018, which will probably turn into just this again. But anyway, Gundam Versus also came out this year, which is, I felt like I wanted to talk to it about because I love Gundam and I want a good Gundam game to exist. This was a good Gundam game. It was okay. It was the problem. Its main issue was its difficulty spike out of fucking nowhere, and on top of that, just lack of single player content. There was just not a lot there at all. Even multiplayer content, there just wasn't anything there, and it's such a shame to see because it had such a massive roster, which I think is definitely probably where most of the production time went into. I really want to see like an Armored Core Gundam game or something like that because it's great. It was fun. They just needed to work on some actual content for the game. That was it. But hopefully we get another Gundam Versus coming up at some point, possibly announced in the new year, and hopefully it shocks us all. Hopefully we're all shocked of how amazing it is. Anyway, moving on to Destiny 2. Speaking of games that just did not have enough content, Destiny 2. We've had one DLC pack for it, one coming in the new year, I believe February is its time, and we will be playing it because I've already brought it. Destiny 2, I love it. I love Destiny 2. I love playing Destiny 2. I just wish there was more to do in Destiny 2. You know? It's not that I don't like it, because I really do. I just wish there was more to do. It's odd. It's such an odd anomaly. I'm not sure how they even did this. How they went from Destiny 1 in its current state to Destiny 2 in its current state. I'm not sure what they did. I'm not sure how they fucked it up, but they did. It's definitely sad to see because it's something that I want to play more of. I want to play more Destiny 2, but just doing my weeklies and stuff isn't enough to keep me interested in the game. It just... And the PvP, I want to play more again, but it's just not enough to keep me interested. It's pretty sad, because I think Destiny 2 could have gone the right way. I mean, it's Bungie we're dealing with, right? I'm not sure how they could make such a terrible mistake. But I'm sure eventually it will be fixed. They do look like they really care, and they are truly trying to fix it. But they keep bringing out stuff which is kind of cheap. Like there was content that I recorded for the thing that didn't work because I fucked up the recording. But the summer DLC, or not summer DLC, the winter DLC. Wow, that went for a while, didn't it? The winter DLC, which recently came out to me, the Christmas event, the Dawning event, it's called. It was kind of just an excuse to sell content. It ended up them trying to con us into buying more things. I couldn't believe it. I was like, come on, guys. Be the people I know you can be, not the people that these like fucking... I don't know, it's just so disappointing to see. But I'm sure we will see more Destiny in the coming year, and hopefully Destiny will get its thing, and hopefully they won't just be like, well, this isn't working, Destiny 3. They'll be like, they'll actually work and fix it, and we will have this game for a few years to come. Hopefully. You never know. Right, moving on. Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania. I love Sonic Mania. I played a lot of it. In fact, I'm still playing. I'm playing the Knuckles playthrough on my own now on my Switch, and it's super great. It's my favorite 2D Sonic, easily my favorite 2D Sonic. As I'm not a big fan of 2D Sonics, but this is definitely one of the better ones. And Sonic Forces, which a video just went out, or it should have gone out a little while ago. Super Sonic was just added, and it didn't really impress me. It wasn't enough to keep me playing because it's not much of the content added. It was just another game this year that didn't have enough content. There just wasn't enough content in it, and I can't believe that they would just not add chows. I will not stop stressing this fact. But if they added fucking Chow Gardens, it would be such a better fucking game. I don't know what happened. I'm so upset. I want the Chow Gardens. Guys, I don't know what happened. I don't know where the Chow Gardens went, but when I find them, I'll let you know. Okay. Well, here we are. Okay. So here we are. This is the top 5 worst and the top 5 best games of 2017 for me. For me. Keep in mind, I've not played every game, and me and you might not have the exact same taste in games, but these are my favorites. Okay? So we'll go through... I was going to go through the best ones. You know, we'll go through the worst ones first. Because... well, it's always more fun to end on a positive note, right? Surely. So, the top 5 worst. In number 5 was going to be South Park. Okay? It was going to be the South Park, the Fractured Butthole. I ended up not having a 5. Because as much as I wanted to put South Park there, I just couldn't. I just couldn't put South Park on the most hated list because it wasn't hated. It's not like I hated it. I could see why people would love South Park, the Fractured Butthole. But I wasn't a South Park fan, which is why I just didn't like this one. I was hoping that this wouldn't have any effect on it because I loved the Fractured, the stick. What is it called? The Stick of Truth. I actually really adore the Stick of Truth. So I was kind of expecting this one to be kind of the same, but it just didn't turn out that way, and it just wasn't good enough, and I didn't enjoy it. It was definitely, this one felt like you needed to be a South Park fan, and you needed to know what South Park was and who all these people were. I just didn't have that information because I don't like South Park, and I think that's the the main issue with South Park: Affection But Whole is that if you don't like it, if you don't like South Park, you're not gonna like that game. Where the Stick of Truth, I think you could probably get on with it because it's, I don't know, they make more fun of like JRPGs or just RPGs in general. They make more fun of that sort of situation rather than making fun of South Park characters. And that was a problem. And it's a problem for me because I didn't like South Park. So South Park was going to be the 5th. But I decided to take it off because I realized that South Park itself actually wasn't a bad game. It just, I just couldn't get on with it because I didn't like South Park. And I don't think that's a good enough reason. But anyway, moving on to the actual four most hated games of the year. Starting off at number 4, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I went from, this game is okay, to, wow, this game is bad, to, wow, I really despise this game. That is how my mood so sharply changed when playing this game. I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know what happened in development. I don't know what happened to Xenoblade Chronicles. I just don't get it. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a great game. It's super fun. It's super interesting. This one, it's not. It's got boring characters. It's got bad voice acting. It's got horrible character art. In some cases, some character art is pretty decent. Some is pretty bad. It's fucking awful, some of it. It has weird fucking world design choices where, like, the world is one of its most beautiful commodities, and they kind of prevent you from exploring it because they're just like, here's a level 6 area. Oh, but there's a level fucking 81 monkey walking around. Don't let it see you. It'll one-shot your ass. And that's like, I'm sorry, what? Why the fuck is that monkey even there? That's so dumb. Or like, I'm just running across a field and a bird comes out of nowhere and eats my ass. I'm like, what the fuck happened there? Like, why are these creatures in this, like, starting area? And other than that, all the quests kind of end up feeling like a single-player MMO. You know, like, none of them seem to carry any weight through or anything like that. It just ends up being just like a lonely MMO. Like, there's no one around. Like, it's an MMO but you have no friends, you know, like, or you don't even have other players. It's like you're playing an MMO that died 7 years ago but somehow you're still playing it, you know. That's what it feels like. It's weird and it's just not good enough. I know somehow it got flawless marks across the board, and I don't understand it. I don't know how it got these marks, because it's not good enough. It's not a good game, and if you have a Switch, it's not something that you should rush out and buy, because it's bad. The combat is kind of slow and boring. Like I said, the characters just aren't really interesting, and stuff like that. It's just not a game worth playing. It's just a game that's not worth your time, especially for the amount of hours it intends for you to put into it. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on to the next one, which is the Spirit of Sanada. Now, what's there so long with Spirit of Sanada? Not a whole lot, as it doesn't really diverse from its previous Dynasty Warrior games. It's just not a good Dynasty Warrior game. It's the worst Dynasty Warrior game we got this year, and possibly in a while. It had nothing. Like, despite it being called Spirit of Sanada, it didn't really have any spirit whatsoever. And I think that's the major issue here, that there was just nothing to it. It was just like, here's an excuse for us to reuse a lot of these battles, and that kind of bored me. There just wasn't really nothing there. Right, next on this list, Digimon The Next World Order. I think anybody who watched my Let's Play on this knows that I fucking got really upset and really angry with this game. It was bad. It was a bad game on a bad basis. It was too old. It was an old game. I'm sure there's some people out there who get on with it and love it. But the death mechanic, oh my god, the death mechanic. That is something that should never have existed. I'm fine with like trading your Digimon in and starting again to up their stats or something. But for them to just straight up fucking eat shit and die at some point, randomly, of old age? Not even like in battle, they just kind of at one point just go, I've died. And it's like, fucking what? You died? Why did you die? It's like, well, it's my time was my time. We all die at some point, right? It's like, what? No, Digimon. I've had you for like 20 minutes. You can't just straight up just die. It's frustrating and irritating. And the fact that there was no way to tell what direction you were going or how much of a level you had. Because there was no direct levels at reverse damage, it is. Because there was no like direct like number, like for example, this right here, right? I'm level 649. This one here is level 593. So I can tell from that alone that I'm stronger. There was no way to tell that in Digimon. Other than you fighting it and then eating shit because you weren't strong enough, there's no other way to tell how strong you are. Eventually just coming back into this whole bunch of asinine, annoying gameplay mechanics that just weren't fun. And that's why it kind of crashed and burned on the channel. I'm not into it. I stopped playing it because I couldn't stand it. And of course, the worst culprit, and I will go into the fact that this culprit here is bad because of the recent craze of loot boxes. It is definitely there because not only because of that, but that is a big part of it. The sheer goal of this game it was riding high on its previous success and just shit the bed. Shadow of War, like Mordor Shadow of War it's not a good game. It's the worst game of the year in my opinion, or at least the worst game that I played this year. I'm sure there's worse games, but it was the worst game that I played. You could argue that loot boxes don't affect the gameplay, as you don't have to buy them. I would disagree with that. They are shoved in your face the entire way through. They are advertised to you all the way through. There is not one part of that game where that game does not suggest that you to buy one. The mere fact that your currency that you can buy loot boxes with is silver and the brought currency is gold, that immediately shows that the gold currency chests are better than the silver currency. Immediately. And then on top of that, there's all the advertising in the pause menu. You pause the game and it shoves it in your face like, hey, remember this? Buy this. Like, it's unacceptable, and it's not a good mechanic. And the game is designed around it. It can't be denied. It's just designed to have these microtransactions, which don't need to exist. And even professional reviewers are saying that you can't. The end of the game is such a grind unless you buy. It's not good enough. It rode high on the fucking fact that the game before it was completely fucking amazing, and it was like, well, we don't really need to do anything now because this game, the first game, already got us all the advertising we needed. We're just gonna ride high on it, and they fucked it up because they got greedy. They got fucking really, really greedy. WB is a greedy company, and because of that, they shot themselves in the foot. Not to mention that the game is just kind of boring. It's not as interesting as the first one. I don't like the hub worlds. I don't like the small little hub environments. I much preferred the open world of the first game, which I know contradicts my previous statement. But this is what I mean. This is the first one felt unique at the time, but where I've recently grown bored to that sort of thing, and I think even going back, I don't think it would hold up. I do not think it would hold up as well as it does, as well as you would think it would. I don't think it's especially the second one. Shadow of War. It feels lazy. It feels like you're being cheated, especially for a fucking like a full price £50 game. And they want you to pay more. It's unacceptable, and you shouldn't buy them. You shouldn't buy any microtransactions to do a Shadow of War because it's fucking trash. It's boring. It's repetitive. Its story is just kind of meh. There's no redeeming qualities about it. It's just kind of boring. Yes, the Nemesis system exists in it, but the Nemesis system is pointless on its own. The Nemesis system is only as exciting as it is when there's actually like an actual war for you to fight through. But that just doesn't exist in this game. It's nowhere near as exciting, and you're just not into it. It's a shame, but that's the way it is. And that's my top 4 things, hated games. Top 4 hated games. Okay, we got Xenoblade, Spirit Sander, Digimon, Next Order, and Shadow War. The fact that I couldn't even find 5 top 5 games, worst games, means that it was a pretty good year. Overall, I feel. But man, those games really pissed me off. They were bad. It was a shame. It was a shame that they're as bad as they were. But let's go on to the top 5. Top 5. Let's end on the high note of the top 5 games of this year that impressed me the most, had my most, that I invested the most time in, that had me on the edge of my seat, had me almost in tears. You know, those games that have an impression on me. Those games that leave an imprint on you. So I feel like that is the most important thing. Okay? When looking at games that you enjoyed over the year, and when you're trying to pick one that meant the most to you, you gotta pick the ones that openly had an effect on you. One of these, I will admit, I feel like I kind of cheated with because it's an expansion. And because it's an expansion, I'm putting it in at 5. Okay, number 5, which you could easily swap this out for Mario Odyssey, because Mario Odyssey is that good. But Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. You guys know it, I know it. I love Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is one of my favorite games of all time at this point. It's one of the most important games in my life. I've met some of the coolest people, and unfortunately I've met a few bad people, of course, but I've met some of the most amazing people through the Final Fantasy XIV community. I know every YouTuber, you know, seems to have that one MMO that they really connected with at some point, you know, and this is just mine. Final Fantasy XIV is just that one that I really, really connected with. I played 11 before this. I played Phantasy Star Universe. I played a very, very, very tiny bit of WoW. But that's nowhere near for me to have an opinion on WoW. You know, I've played a fair bit of MMOs. I've played Guild Wars 2. In fact, I still do play Guild Wars 2, and I still do play Elder Scrolls Online. I play that a lot. And, you know, I play Destiny and stuff like that. But Final Fantasy XIV, I'm suspecting, as far as I know, unless they colossally fuck it up somehow, is going to be the game I constantly return to every day. Okay, I will openly admit, even if it's just to turn on Final Fantasy XIV and water my plants, do my retainers, and maybe do a roulette, say hi to the FC, stuff like that, that's what I do at least every day. Like I said, even if I'm just logging in to water my plants and say hello and goodbye, you know, even if it's just that, it's something that I always return to. We should probably heal first. And the expansion brought the job that I had awaited for since the game launched. Since the game launched, I had waited for the job of Samurai. I played Samurai. I main Samurai in Final Fantasy XI, and I love Samurais in general. Right? Another game on this list will show you that. I love Samurais, and Stormblood finally gave that to me. It finally gave me the ability to play Samurai. Stormblood gave me a pretty interesting, intriguing story. It gave me more game, and it's also just giving me more of a game that I absolutely love. And I realize that it's kind of cheating because it's an expansion. and we don't usually put expansions on the top 5 lists. On top this time, usually it's top 10 lists, but the top 5 lists. But you know what? I think it's my list, and I'm gonna cheat if I want to. I love Final Fantasy 14, and I love Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood. It was a great expansion, finally bringing me my job, and it's definitely one of the best games. It's definitely one of the most important games in my life right now. Probably, maybe even ever. You know, it's where I met my partner. It's where I've met some of my most closest friends, and some of my most supportive friends, and some of the most supportive people I've ever known. Which is why Stormblood is so important to me, and which is why it's so incredibly important that this game is the game that it is, and I love it. Which is why it's there. Stormblood is great. If you haven't played Final Fantasy 14 yet, there's a free fucking trial. You should play it, because what the hell are you waiting for? Just go play it. It's fantastic. Anyway, moving on. Number 4. Zelda. That's right, Zelda. Zelda, the Breath of the Wild. To be more specific. I was expecting another cut-and-dry Zelda game until they showed it off to us, and we were like, that's not Zelda. But at the same time, we were like, that's not Zelda? Kind of like, hint, wink, wink, you're like, oh my. And it turned out to be one of the best open world experiences I've ever had. And still have. I enjoy that game tremendously. It's great. There's a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's a few problems with it. Hell, there's a lot of problems with it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a great game. It's a phenomenal game. It's, despite the collectibles being kind of single-minded, and despite the whole the dungeons being single-minded, as you're only gonna find a couple of things, it was just somehow just fun to explore. You just had fun exploring it and trying to find certain stuff, and it was a great game. And I don't think any, especially any Zelda, has ever come close to achieving what it achieves. Yes, the world map may be slightly too big. Yes, it may be full of some empty spaces. Yes, it may be full of yes, it may have a terrible fucking weapon degradation system. I don't actually necessarily mind the weapon degradation system. It forces me to use more weapons, different weapons, and it kind of makes me use whatever I have available to me to actually get the job done. And I really, really like that about the game. But I will admit that some of the weapons maybe have the, they're practically made out of paper. Like, it's like I'm hitting people with cardboard at some points. It's crazy. But it's one of the best games. Zelda is one of the best games. If you have a Wii U, if you are one of the few people to buy a Wii U, you should buy this game. You should buy Zelda instantly. And if you haven't got a Wii U and you got a Switch, you should still buy it. Hell, it probably came with the Switch. And I hope you guys are enjoying it just as much as I did, and I still do. I'm nowhere near completing it, by the way. I'm nowhere near 100%. But it's 100% worth your time. It's definitely worth all of my time. I feel like I have not wasted a second on that game. Moving on to number 3, which is Yakuza Kiwami, which is technically a remake. It's a re-release of the very first Yakuza game. And I never ever played the first Yakuza game, which is why I feel justified about putting it on the list, okay? I know remakes as well. You're like, what the fuck? You got a remake? You got an expansion? You just cheated? You just cheated to this top 10 list. Yakuza came out with 2 games this year, Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami. Yakuza Kiwami was a re-release of the very first game on PS2. And I'd never played it before. I came into the Yakuza series at around Yakuza 3. And I loved it. I love Yakuza. I love the map. I love the whole like society integration into it somehow. I love how the world is in that game. It's phenomenal. And the first game is such a touching story. It's such a lovely fucking story. It actively almost made me cry. I was like on the verge. I really, really was. Honest to God. It's so good. I just... Like, you can tell. You can tell what this world is. You can tell... You can feel the people in it. You can... there's humor in it, and yet there's a whole lot of, like, love in it. It's a great game. It's worth every penny and worth all the time in the world. It's only about 20 hours long, so it's not terrifically long, but it's worth your time. Yakuza Kiwami is definitely worth a look. It's I would say it's definitely an acquired taste, okay? It's definitely an acquired taste, as it's like kind of like a 3D, it's like a 3D Streets of Rage beat 'em up game, mixed with an RPG, that's mixed with a dating sim, which is mixed with Grand Theft Auto, which is mixed with Sega. It's kind of weird, but we get a Yakuza Kiwami 2, and I'm sure it's going to be just as good, and I cannot wait. And early next year, we're also getting Yakuza 6, and I cannot wait for Yakuza 6. It's going to be so good, and I'm looking forward to playing those games immensely. They are great, and you should purchase them. Because, quite frankly, we need everybody to buy those games as possible, so Sega keeps giving it to us. Because a couple of them never made it to the West, because they didn't think they're going to sell. It's bad news. Anyway, number 2, which was a hard one. It was a hard one. It was a hard game. I played it a long time, and it was very, very difficult. It was Nioh. The Souls games have somehow, from me not liking Dark Souls 1, in fact from me hating Dark Souls 1, straight up just going to, I kind of like Dark Souls 2, to, wow, Bloodborne is the best game in the world, to Dark Souls 3 fucking rules, to Nioh is an amazing game. It baffles the mind. The Souls series, or the Soul, somehow it's a genre now. The Souls genre, if you want to go to that degree of it, is amazing. I love the idea of Souls games. These hard games which aren't really that hard if you have people help you. That's where the game's difficulty comes from. It's deciding whether or not you want help. Now, this gets a little bit of a slight situation where some people believe that you shouldn't get help in this game. Some people believe that if you can't beat the game on your own, you should not be able to play it. And some people believe that there should be a difficulty on the game. And some people think that if they put a difficulty on the game, the entire game is going to be ruined. My personal stance on that is that I think that having a difficulty slider on them is fine. I don't really see a problem with it. It's like, if you want to play a hard mode, play on hard mode. Make achievements for hard mode, you know, so like you can still get your bragging rights. Like, I don't know, I don't care. But aside from that topic aside, Nioh is Dark Souls, but in feudal Japan. It deals with a lot of yokai and a lot of human assets, a lot of big names like, you know, Oda Nobunaga, you know, Tadagasu Honda, Yukimura Sanada, you know, all these people, they are involved somehow, and it's a Dark Souls game, but in Japan with yokai. An amazing setting. And you're a samurai. You are... It's so good. This game could have definitely done with a character creation. The character you play as, William, is not interesting. He's not interesting, and I don't really give a shit. I kind of just want to play the game, and I know I'm fine with it being story. I love story in my games, but I don't care about him. That's basically what it boils down to, is that I just don't care. I would rather just be able to create my own character, which I'm sure when a Nioh 2 comes around, we will be able to. I'm sure they're going to put a character creation in there. I'm going to go ahead and guarantee it don't take that as word as gospel as that being announced. It hasn't been announced yet, and I don't go looking for the information. I don't have any real information. I just think that the next game they'll allow us to create our own character, and it will be even more Dark Soulsy. It's phenomenal. I love Neo. Neo the Complete Edition is available to buy. If you haven't bought it, buy that version. It's great. It's got I'll just watch some streamers play it. It's amazing. I have logged many hours in that game, and I've beaten so many challenges in that game, and I also have watched hundreds of hours of other people playing that game. I loved Neo. It was a massive part of this year. It was so good. From Tecmo, and well, we all know how I feel about Tecmo. I love Tecmo. They are one of the greatest development teams. They are so good, and they're so nice. But Neo definitely rocked it 100%. And with Code Vein coming out next year, which is like an anime Dark Souls, and then possibly even more, like possibly something else, which the From Software team are working on, which we don't really know what it is yet. I mean, you know, there's a few rumors, or at the time of recording, we don't know what it is yet. A few rumors of it being a Bloodborne 2, you know, stuff like that. I want another Armored Core game, personally, but a Bloodborne 2 would be fucking dope. I would play the shit out of that. But anyway, here we are, at floor 40. It's a pretty good floor to end this conversation on. The best game I played this year was, of course, and I'm sure you guys saw it coming, Persona 5. I feel like I don't even know how to explain how good Persona 5 is. I'm gonna give it a go. It's turn-based combat. It's in the Shin Megami Tensei series, which is one of my favorite series of RPGs. It's kind of spooky. It's kind of thrilling. It's kind of excitement, and it's a slice of life mixed with a JRPG, mixed with a dating sim, which it's so weird. Like, you can either decide to carry on with your progress in the game, or you can decide to go brew coffee. It's such a weird thing to explain. It's one of those games where you don't really know how to explain why it's so good. The story is amazing. The sound direction is, oh my god, the sound direction. The music in this game is so fucking sweet. Okay, it's perfect. I'd go as far as to say it's perfect. It's perfect music. Okay, it's got an amazing story, great twists, lovable characters. All of the characters, I would say, I don't remember straight up hating a character off the top of my head. I'm sure there was one. If you guys can think of a hated character in the Persona 5, by all means, name it in the comments below. Just even some of the villains, like, this happens more than I'd like to admit, but I found myself agreeing with the villains. I found myself, like, kind of understanding them, and they do it so well. The story, the plot, the whole... Oh my god, the music is so good. The combat is so good. The characters are phenomenal. The game looks gorgeous for being a PS3 game, as far as I believe. It was originally meant to be out on PS3, and I think it did release out on PS3, maybe in like Japan. I don't think it's on PS3 here though. But it's a phenomenal game. I don't really like giving games numerical values, but for all intents and purposes, Persona 5 is a 10 out of 10. It's 100% a 10 out of 10. That doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, but it's damn fucking good. It's a must own. If you like RPGs, if you like JRPGs, if you like dating sims, just buy it and play it. It's phenomenal. And I don't think there's any better game this year. If you had the option, if someone come up to you and goes, here's £50, you can buy one game for this year. Make it Persona 5. It's phenomenal. There's no other game better than Persona 5 that came out this year. It may even get a slot on the best games of all time. I loved it that much. Wow, we got all the way to level 52. That's fucking crazy. But that is where we end. Persona 5 is my thing. Make sure you drop your favorite games in the comments below. I've kept you for nearly an hour. That's crazy amount of time for me to keep you guys. Then again, it's kind of also to be expected at this point, right? Now, we play a lot of games on the show. Not all of them new, not all of them old. And we play so much here, and I play in my own time as well, of course, and stuff like that. And next year, I intend to play even more. Next year, I intend to hit so many of my milestones, so many of my goals. You know, I've kind of decided that this has kind of been a hobby, but it's become something that I want to do. And I'm taking it 100% seriously in the next year. I love doing this. I love communicating with you guys. I love talking to you people. People who talk to me on Twitter, you're phenomenal. People who message me in the comments, you're fantastic. I love you all. It's been so much fun. And it's definitely going to continue. We're going to go as long as we can until the YouTube inevitably implodes upon the universe and shoots itself in the head. We're going to keep going, okay? Because I love it. I love doing this. I hope you guys are going to stick with me. I hope you guys are going to continue to do this. On New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I can't remember when I've scheduled it, there will be another video out, Attack on Titan World, where we'll continue with this weapon, and we will be talking about the games coming up in 2018 that I'm excited for, and the games in 2018 which I am not excited for, which I couldn't give a crap about. And it's an odd thing to talk about, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Let me know the games that you love this year in the comments below. Let me know what you played the most this year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.